You ever have those days, you're putting in the hours, you're doing all the things you think you're supposed to be doing, but when you actually look around, nothing's really changed. It just feels like you're spinning your wheels. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to dig into why that happens.
This feeling, it's just so frustrating, isn't it? And you're definitely not the only one who feels this way. It's kind of like you're pouring all your energy into a bucket, but there's a huge hole in the bottom. But what if I told you the problem isn't how hard you're working? All right, let's get right into it. The first big idea we really need to wrap our heads around is this critical difference between effort and actual progress. See, there's this powerful illusion of motion that keeps so many of us feeling completely stuck. So check this out. On one side, you've got motion. This is just being busy, right? It's checking tasks off a list, answering emails, just activity for the sake of activity. And it feels super productive. But on the other side, you've got progress. That's actually moving forward towards a specific destination. So often, we get trapped in motion, and we trick ourselves into thinking that being busy is the same thing as making progress. And this is so important. This isn't about you being lazy. You are putting in the work. The real issue is that all that incredible effort, all that energy, doesn't have a single clear direction. It's just scattered everywhere. And scattered energy, it just kind of fizzles out. I mean, think about it like this. You could be the hardest working, most efficient shovel operator in the entire world, but if your goal is to climb a mountain, all that incredible effort is just digging you a deeper and deeper hole. Every single thing we do adds up over time, but it only really works for us if all those little actions are pointed in the direction we actually want to go. Okay, so if the big problem is a lack of direction, why is it so hard to just, pick one and stick to it? Well, it turns out that sometimes our own brains are kind of working against us. There are these hidden traps. We hear it all the time, right? Set more goals, have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. But honestly, our brains just can't handle all of that at once. When you have way too many goals all competing for your attention, it just creates this mental chaos. And you know what the human brain does when it's overwhelmed? The easiest choice is to do nothing at all. Now, here's one of the absolute sneakiest traps our brain sets for us. It's called dopamine misdirection. You know dopamine, right? It's that feel-good chemical our brain releases as a little reward. Well, here's the problem. Our brain gives us a nice hit of dopamine for checking off easy, small tasks, like finally getting to inbox 0. But it doesn't really reward us for the hard, long-term stuff, like, say, starting that business you've been dreaming about. We are literally biologically wired to prefer being busy over being effective. It's wild. And that's really the heart of the issue right there. Your brain's reward system can be tricked. It gives you that little prize, that good feeling, for the sensation of effort, whether or not that effort is actually getting you anywhere. It's a biological loop that basically gets us addicted to motion, not progress. And this can lead to something I call the identity trap. It's where the act of trying becomes the goal itself. Saying I'm working on it or I'm trying to get that sorted out starts to feel like progress. It's this comfortable little story we tell ourselves, and it lets us avoid the really hard, uncomfortable work of actually changing. So, what happens after years of this? Years of being in motion, but not making any real progress? Well, our brain learns from that. It learns that effort doesn't actually lead to results. It's a psychological concept called learned helplessness. We start to unconsciously pull back and reduce our effort because deep down, we've kind of stopped expecting to win. So we've looked at how our own minds can get in the way. But, it's not just an internal battle. The world around us isn't always set up in a way that helps us see our own progress. Let me show you what I mean. Think for a second about why video games are so ridiculously addictive. They give our brains exactly what they crave. Super clear goals, instant feedback on everything you do, and obvious rewards. You always know the score. But real life, especially for the things that really matter, like your career, your health, your relationships, the metrics are fuzzy, the feedback is slow, and the results can take years, even decades to show up. And that's really it, isn't it? Feedback is like the GPS for our effort. It's what tells us if we need to change course or if we should just keep going. Without a clear feedback system, we're basically flying blind, just pouring all this energy out into the world with no idea if it's even making a dent. This timeline right here explains why so many of us give up on things. When you start something new and important, you almost immediately fall into what's called the valley of disappointment. This is where your effort is super high, but the visible results are, well, they're basically zero. The real, meaningful, compounded results, they only show up way, way later. Most people quit before they ever get there. And honestly, this is the cruelest part of the whole thing. Because we can't feel or see the progress that's happening under the surface, our brain just assumes there is no progress. And if there's no progress, well, why even bother trying? Okay, so let's bring all of this together. We've got misaligned effort, a brain that loves the feeling of being busy, and a world that often hides our progress from us. So what's really going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The problem isn't you. It's the system you're operating in. When it really comes down to it, that feeling of being well and truly stuck almost always comes from these three things. We're pulled in too many directions, so we have no real focus. We have no clear way of measuring our progress, so we get no useful feedback. And we're spending our time on low-impact stuff, so our actions just have no leverage. And this, right here, is the key idea I really want you to take away today. This totally reframes the entire problem. You're not broken. You're not lazy, you're just working inside of a system that isn't designed to show you your own progress. And you know what? That's actually great news, because the solution isn't to just try harder or hustle more. That doesn't fix a broken system. The real solution is alignment. It's about making small, smart shifts in your focus and creating your own feedback loops. Because tiny shifts in alignment, when they compound over time, are what create those absolutely massive, life-changing results. So I'm just going to leave you with this one question to think about. What if that feeling of being stuck isn't actually a sign that you're failing? What if it's just a compass pointing out that you're just a little bit misaligned? And what's one small shift you could make, maybe even starting today, to find your true north?